Hope Channel, changing lives.
Hello, and a lovely and beautiful day from the studios of Hope Channel Ghana. The program is Love at Home, and we want to say thank you so much for always joining us on Love at Home. As you know, we are still celebrating Ghana. It is our birthday, and so in the month of March, I'm sure every Ghanaian should be proud. And that is why today we still want to continue our discussion where we left off last week on what Adventism, the history, our heritage, and all that. Today we want to look at our Adventist heritage, but we are focusing on education and health. I am Efia Sewa Mansa. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, you get to know my guest. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Safe to say, powered by God, and with the play.
Introducing the Adventist Men's National Convention from March 28th to the 1st of April 2024 at Valley View University. This is going to be a gathering of strength, faith, and brotherhood.
Hello friend, I invite you to join us for 5 unforgettable days of inspiration, empowerment, and brotherhood. All the men, come around, let's talk about ourselves, we will tell our story, let's empower each other. Another team, Adventist men chosen for mission.
Register at the cool price of 300 cedis, and I know God will provide for you. And you can get the tickets everywhere, every local church in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. May you be blessed. See you there.
Main speaker, Pastor Dr. Kwame Kweni Boache. Other speakers include Pastor Dr. Thomas Techi Okran and Pastor Dr. Kwame Anoboahe.
Adventist Men National Convention from the 28th of March to the 1st of April, happening at Valley View University Campus, Oyibi, Accra. Register now with 300 Ghana cedis and be part of something extraordinary.
Thank you so much, and you are welcome back. Please do not forget to like, share, and call in all your family members that it is time also. It is time we get to learn more about who we are. So today we want to know about our heritage. And in Ghana, Adventists, we have so many associations, organizations, and things that we are doing. But apart from education, health, what else do you know? You want to go more into it. Then be proud of yourself that your church is doing so much. Then the question is, you as an individual, what are you also leaving as a heritage for your unborn generation? To help me do this discussion, I have with me lawyer, historian, Elder Yao Anoche Frimpong. Elder, good evening.
Good evening, madam.
I like your kente. It's so beautiful.
It was given to me by Dr. and Mrs. Dr. Omari Yeboah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So wherever you are, we say thank you so much. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
The colors are so bright. You look good.
Thank you.
You are looking Ghanaian.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and to you out there, I want to say, Akwaba, you are welcome. And so we are discussing our heritage, Adventist heritage on education and health. We know that SDA has lots of education, institutions running and all that. But we want to know, where did it come from? When?
Okay. With the very advent of the church, that is the genesis of the church, we tried to be different from the others, you know that the Roman Catholic Church was the first church to be established. Then came the Orthodox churches, those who through breaking away from the Catholic system also got themselves established, like the Anglican, like Lutheran, Methodist, and Presbyterian. And others. And then we came finally, you know, with the Adventist message. Now, we were different because we were through and through Adventists. We were observing the Sabbath, still observing the Sabbath, and then above all else, the church introduced very deep health methods, because the others felt that for as long as you remain a Christian, God takes care of you and your everything. Now, Ellen G. White, far back in 1863, had stated that God would take care of your spiritual needs, and you would have to take care of your physical needs. You need to be holy spiritually, and then you need to be physically very able. So with the combination of the two, then you are a total Christian.
Okay.
That's what makes us different from them. And so the church became a pioneer in the crusade against alcoholism. For the others, taking alcohol was nothing. I attended a Catholic sixth form, secondary St. John's School, and I found the Catholic fathers, and there was nothing wrong about that. With Adventism, it is always a big no. And then stimulants. With an Adventist, you cannot take anything that is a stimulant.
Example of these stimulants you're talking about?
Oh, for example, caffeine.
Okay.
And then tea, or anything that goes inside your body that will make you stay awake or give you extra strength or energy.
Against the natural way.
Unless the natural way.
Okay.
For example, we are told that coconut water is just good for you, but not to go and take anything from the shop as a sportsman, as a student, or anything and say that, no, I just want to, I'm so tired, so let me take some medication in order that the body will be able to withstand that. It's a stimulant and it doesn't help you. Okay. So the SDA Church introduced this. And years later, the World Health Organization came to discover that the Adventist method was right. And Loma Linda University, which is one of the best medical-based universities in the world, came out with a study that anybody who followed the Adventist system would live between 8 and 10 years longer than others who did not. So from there, you see that we get a very big heritage that Christians will have to take care of their own physical needs, doing exercise and being temperate in everything. You know, you cannot overeat, you cannot oversleep. You cannot say because there is food, let me just eat it. No. The Adventists have a way of eating, even before you eat, about an hour earlier. With Seventh-day Adventists, we advise to take some water. And as you are eating, you are not supposed to take water. And then you also allow yourself not less than 30 minutes after eating before you take in some water. These are principles not found anywhere, but we have decided to evolve as a way of giving us a new health and longevity. Okay. That is a very big heritage for us.
Wow.
And then also, we have education as our heritage. When you read page 149 of Ellen G. White's book, Ministry of Healing, she says that the church is established to do Bible learning, Sabbath school study, evangelism, prayer, community outreach programs, reaching out to the poor and needy, taking care of the unconverted, and establishing schools to give skill training to all manner of people. And that is why I'm not surprised that in her book, The Acts of the Apostles, page 9, she says the church is established for service.
Okay.
So the very essence of Christianity is service to mankind and service to God. And there is no way you can yield yourself up for this service when you are not properly equipped.
Okay.
And that is through taking care of yourself in terms of health. You know, look at this wonderful program you are doing every Tuesday. And then the next Tuesday, they call you because it is getting to 8 p.m. and you tell us that you are indisposed because you are ill. You know, it will not help us. Ellen G. White tells us that the very definition of disease is being not at ease, dis-ease.
Oh, okay.
So when you take good care of yourself, you would always be healthy. You will always be at ease. And then when you have taken care of the health needs, you are strong enough to take care of the education needs. And there is no way you can teach anybody when you are not better educated than that person. I'm sure you understand. You can't be my teacher in law when you are a medical doctor.
Oh, it's not possible.
That's not possible. Just as I sit here when I don't know medicine. I mean, I can be a professor in law. I can not go and teach medicine. So children of God would have to digest the Bible through and through in order that first and foremost, you yourself would understand what you are doing, and then you will be able to give others.
Back to others. Yeah. Wow, this is deep. This is really, really deep. Now, we want to know, when it comes to education, when did Adventists begin to venture into education?
Let me start by saying that in terms of the generality, Seventh-day Adventist Church is among the few churches in the world with the highest number of institutions, especially tertiary institutions. We have nearly 200 universities in the world.
Wow.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church. Then scaling it down to our country, Ghana, we have one university, one college of education, nurses training institutions, and then several, as for secondary and basic education, several. And then our story is that, well, let me also say, because so many people don't know, that among the best universities in the world are Seventh-day Adventist universities. And readily, I can think of Andrews University. It's a worldwide, easily accepted, uncontrovertibly accepted university, Andrews. And we also have Loma Linda University, which is one of the best science-oriented universities in the world, where this Siamese twins, we know that we have a center for that where they separate them. So when it comes to education, we are always on top. Now coming to our own zone, Ghana, you know, there were pioneers of education. The SDA Church started the first school, basic school in Cape Coast in 1903.
Wow.
But when one C.A. Aka, the first local pioneer in terms of education, was Christian Anthony Aka from the Nzema area, Kekam, who established the Kekam SDA school in 1907. And we need to say that one of the products of the Kekam SDA school rose to become a vice chancellor of the University of Ghana.
Wow.
Also from that Nzema area.
Lovely.
Professor Ivan Ademensa.
Okay.
He's an old boy of Kekam SDA school. He himself is not a Catholic. And the other day I was saying that when Kwame Nkrumah attended school in Hafasini, some of the teachers were Seventh-day Adventists who had immense influence on him, especially in terms of discipline. Because he used to say that he was not drinking, he wasn't taking a cigarette, and he learned that from our institution, not his Catholic, because they don't frown on that. We vehemently oppose that. Now, when C.A. Aka died suddenly, we learned that it was another evangelist, an expatriate, who was brought in, W.H. Lewis, and he found that the church was not growing the way he wanted along the coast. So he sent a message to the director of education on the Gold Coast that he wanted to establish a school and a church in the interior part of the country. So they sought permission from the Ashanti chiefs, and it was not easy. The reason why it wasn't easy for the pioneers, every pioneering work, you wouldn't say it's easy, was the fact that the Ashantis, always felt that formal education, and for that matter, the Christian religion was the religion of the conqueror.
Okay.
The religion of the conqueror, because the Ashantis believed that, but for the 1874 Sagranti War clash, where they were defeated, subdued, and brought under British rule and control, nobody could have defeated them or even stood them to fight.
Yeah.
And so if these same people were introducing a religion, then it was part of the war which was waged against them. So they detested it.
Okay.
Indeed, Ramsay, who was propagating the Basel missionaries' message in the Ashanti region, was arrested with a lot of missionaries. And there was a Ghanaian called Samuel Otu, who in 1900 was arrested. And when Ashanti was defeated in the Yasantiwa War, they thought that it was this evangelist, Samuel Otu, who had gone to divulge their secrets to the white people. So he was killed in Techimentia in 1900 at the age of 30. So they hated Christianity. And the Presbyterian Church was not growing. And many areas would not accept Adventism until that Nana Kwame Boakye, the chief of Agona, Adventists must always revere him, who heard their message and accepted them. And I'm saying that he accepted our evangelist, and I mean Louis, because Louis was able to persuade him that when Nana Boakye was arguing that Yansoni Yeniminyame, Yeniminyame, that in some wukani na yenim, Yenimadi a friend bone. We know what is sin. And when you take somebody's property, we punish you. And when you commit murder, we execute you. So whatever you are saying is not new to us. And then you are talking about a certain day we are all supposed to go converge and watch. We do that through the Wukudai and then the Kwasi. So there is no need to live where you are for another place when you are secure and satisfied with the status quo. But Louis was able to persuade him that this God was a God who created the whole world in 6 days. On the 7th day, he rested. And that day is called Memeneda, Saturday, the Sabbath. He said, oh, yes, it is true. We have it in our religion. And then he said, wearing of earrings. He said, yes. When you see anybody wearing earrings here, any woman wearing that, then she's either a slave or a non-entity. But see the women of the royal house around me. Are they wearing earrings? All that I'm saying by way of summary is that the evangelist was able to persuade the chief to follow him to church every Sabbath day. And the chief also made sure he had persuaded his people to join in the new religion. And so, in 1914, the Seventh-day Adventist Church had already become entrenched in the Agona area of Ashanti. The following day, 1915, they had a full-fledged school doing extremely well.
So the first school was at Kekam.
Kekam, 1907. The Cape Coast one was 1903, which was not growing. And C.A. Aka was a teacher in Cape Coast. Then, as always, Nzimas would always do, they want to go back. So they went back and established a school in Kekam, 1907. And I'm saying that school is still there. The 1907 school, it is now a JHS. It is still doing very well. And I was saying that it has produced so many scholars, the apogee of it being a professor and a former vice chancellor of the University of Ghana. Then the 1915 one is the Agona School. The church was in 1914, and then 1915 the school was established. They had serious problems because the expatriate teachers were dying, because of mosquito, malaria-related diseases. And then also, so that meant we always had shortage of teachers. And then the school initially would not grow because in this straight account system, especially the Ashanti system, people who were royals felt that to be able to stand before them and give them instructions, you should also be a royal. And those days to Canaan was very basic and part and parcel of the education system, and royals would not accept that. Then, nearly 10 years later, the royals discovered that the ordinary men, the common men who accepted schooling, had started speaking in the language of the white men, dressed like them, and could do so many things, and they knew basic health principles and could become interpreters for chiefs. Whenever a chief received a letter, they will have to say, "Kwashishe akwana or SDA school, no mekan krata." So this non-entity has now become more than the chief, his own mouthpiece. And so they started imbibing Adventist education. And then by the year 1925, the Gwagisberg system of education, which was centered on this Achimota philosophy, that you should be able to use your head, your heart, and your hand at the same time. So it means that the Achimota principle, that when you establish a school, there must be a facility for the study of vocational skills, technical skills, yes, vocational, technical, academic, agriculture, music, you know, all these together should make the man. And so when the SDA church was found as the only, yes, the SDA church was found as the only church whose schools had started introducing this system which Gwagisberg had advocated. The then minister, or I'll say secretary for education, wrote a letter, according to Professor Kwame Napo, to commend the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so it started growing roots, and then it went to Bekwai. And then in 1939, there was the need to establish a training college in order to produce more teachers to fill in the institutions that we had started.
Because the expatriates were dying out of malaria. Yes,
and they were bringing in black people from the Caribbean because they could withstand that. And that's why we had another pioneer called Langford, and then another one called T. Baker. But as for the first real pioneer, a Ghanaian C.A. Aka. Yeah, so these were the basic Lewis and the other two, Baker and Langford, that I have mentioned. Then after that, you can't talk of pioneers again. We had started producing teachers and then scholars everywhere until today. We can boast of the fact that, we had the first private institution to have been given a charter as a full-fledged university. And I have in mind the Valley View University.
Oh, so now you've mentioned some benefits, but I want to know other benefits that one stands to gain when you send your ward to Adventist schools.
They are explicit. They are there for everybody to see. The first one is temperance, moderation in everything, which in other institutions they would not spend time to teach. So to be an Adventist is to be unique. I remember when I was in sixth form at Secondary St. John's, there was a national science quiz taking place. The Western region portion was taking place in my school. And I was representing my school, and I said French. And then at the junior sector, I saw a young lady who had come from Fijai Secondary School to represent that school. And she wasn't wearing earrings. And I asked her, "Are you an Adventist?" And she said, "Yes." And she also asked me, "Are you an Adventist?" And I said, "Yes, I'm an Adventist. That's why I discovered you." That was very casual. A sixth former and somebody being in Form 3 or Form 4 in secondary school. Do you know, many years later, I would meet this lady again at the University of Ghana. And then, do you remember many years ago I met you? He said, yes, and that's the woman I have married.
Hey, wherever you are.
Gifty.
Thank you, Gifty.
Yeah. So, to be an Adventist means to be somebody different. You know, to be an Adventist means to be someone who would look younger than your true age.
Wow.
Because of the health principles that we are supposed to follow. Somebody who would live long. You understand? So it means that our curriculum is always over and above the others. You go to Valley View University or Babcock in Nigeria or anywhere else, and you see ladies with very long dresses, you know. And when the parents discover this, they feel so good that even at that level, they don't make it compulsory, but they make it obligatory for them to dress decently. And Ellen G. White mentions that in her book, Counsels for the Church, Volume 1. So it's not only what we eat, what goes inside the body, but the outside, we are made to be different. And that means that when you have an Adventist man, when you have an Adventist woman, they know how to economize and they know how to lead very temperate lives. Okay. Apart from that, the church has got that heritage, which some time ago was called Dorcas.
Dorcas.
No, that we have to always
reach out
to the community and take care of the needs of the poor, the needy, and then the unconverted, and then also pray with them, because even Jesus prayed at longer hours. Evangelize them as a means of making them disciples of Christ. And that's I've mentioned, are found within the educational as well as the health principles of the church as our heritage.
I think now we have what we call the prisons ministry. Prisons ministry, where you have people visiting the prisons.
Not the prisons ministry. And even a ministry for Muslims. Reaching out to Muslims. And then when you talk about ADRA International, where we have added relief, you know, to the work that we are doing, development and then relief. So
now I want you to explain to us, how is this relief, this Adventist relief, helping the people in, as a nation? How?
Yeah, when you talk about any place where there has been a disaster, you know, less than a year ago, you know, the Volta Dam, you know, exploded, and so many parts of the Volta region became inundated. So it means there was an emergency, and once there is an emergency, there is a call for help, support, and so ADRA would have to rush in there. So you see that this is a very distinct, independent part of the church, and it is still a very important part, because even though it is not directly in focus with evangelizing the people, it's a way of meeting the needs of people in disaster. And I believe that only a few churches can boast of this. Very, very important and very radical. Many years ago, in 1983, I was in secondary school, I think Form 4. And there was real famine in Ghana, you know. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church, through ADRA, came to the aid of the government of Ghana. Wow. And because of that, the nation did not feel it much. And then during the Liberian Civil War, Sierra Leonean Civil War, ADRA was at the forefront. And as I talk to you, ADRA is in Gaza, you know, at the forefront, taking care of the emergency needs of the people, just as Russia and Ukraine. ADRA is in Ukraine. So if I tell you this, you know, supplying medicals, giving health attention, and then basic needs, dropping. Sometimes we drop food to the people, you know, so we are doing a lot. The church is doing a lot.
You have a great heritage. Please do not leave this heritage. uphold it and keep it. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our discussion. But remember, you can send your contributions and questions to 0559-680066. 0559-680066. I am discussing with lawyer, historian Yao Anoche Frimpong. We'll be right back.
In times like this, when we have dry eyes and cold feet, in times like this, when people are thinking about themselves and money and money and money, my brothers and sisters, I want to join me in times like this to think more about God's original intentions. I want to invite you that the answer is not more money. The answer is not in more properties. The answer is that in times like this, we need to have a savior. In times like this, we need to have an anchor. In times like this, our anchor must hold to Jesus Christ. He is the only one who can take us out of this suffering and pain and disease and chaos and confusion. He is the only one who can give us hope and peace and victory and joy and eternal life. I want to invite you in the series, In Times Like This.
In Times Like These, premiering Saturday, 16th of March 2024 at 6 a.m. only on Hope Channel Ghana, your preferred Christian TV station.
As a small business owner, Metaisha Business Forum, our Hope Channel, it really helps me with my business.
Don't let your priorities be because obi eye bibinti. Also share some wide. Why wankasa sawasa. So jare ni aweduane. Okay. Obi ani need so that unko fa problem ma wo.
In the first place, business a risk.
Okay.
It's just all about risk. Now person with your business, so now you need you should be a risk taker.
Okay.
I would recommend it to you to Mesresa also Beshebi.
Hello, you're welcome back. You are watching Love at Home on Hope Channel Ghana, and we are discussing our heritage, Adventist heritage, education and health. And I'm having this wonderful discussion with lawyer and historian Yao Anoche Frimpong. Before we left, we were discussing, or we were talking about education. Yeah. But in your own view, what do you think is lacking in terms of education? How can we make it better now?
Well, I wouldn't want to say we are really lacking, okay, and then we need to make it better. We are on top.
That's good.
My only problem is that we have only one university, well, with a few branches. I know Valley View has a branch in Secondary Takrady, Techiman, Kumasi, and still growing. So I think we need to expand more. We also need to expand the courses because we don't have a law faculty. We don't have an engineering faculty, you know, or school of engineering. And then agriculture, because the 1925 Gettysburg Educational Policy, which I said he thanked or commended the SDA Church for already doing, know that SDA had added agricultural science to a basic school.
Okay.
Today, you go to places like Nkoranza, Ejura, Techiman, Tentampo, Tamale.
Where we
so
have
much
food stuff coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe that SDA would need an agricultural institution, a tertiary one, to take advantage of that. If you knew that what you call conflicts was actually developed by two Adventist brothers.
Really?
Yes. So if many years ago, about 100 years ago, we did that, there is a need for us to go into serious agriculture in order that we could take care of so many graduates who are otherwise unemployed. At the moment in this country, almost everyone would want to enter university, which I believe is wrong. When you go to Germany, it is only about 30% of secondary students who are made to go and read academic courses. The rest will go into technical areas, vocational areas, and no wonder Germany and Japan are always on top.
Their industry is growing.
Yeah, so we must have industry-based courses within the Adventist educational system.
Okay.
I also think that there are other mission schools, missions like Presby, Catholic. There is something they have done which we haven't copied much. Sometimes when you copy, it helps you to learn more. You know, we started with mixed schools, and to date, I think we have just 1 or 2 girls' schools. There's one at Ntonso, and almost everywhere, Adventists mix. It's not always that people like what everyone thing.
Yeah.
No, we must begin to have Adventist boys senior high school, Adventist girls. We must have them in every region, just as we have Yasantua, Accra girls, Infantiman girls, Wesley girls. We need that
Every
because
girls.
most people, in fact, the elites, they would prefer single-sex schools for their wards. You may think I'm lying. Go and do a research. And you will discover that that is why every year people will pay anything at all to have their children go to Wesley girls and the schools you mentioned, Infante Prim and others, even above Achimota School, just because they don't want mixed schools. Another school would prefer mixed schools, but give us more opportunities so that when you are introducing your ward, you can choose between an Adventist single-sex school or an Adventist mixed school. Where we are is just one-sided.
Okay.
So in terms of education, that is. And then also our fee is just too high. So everything must be done to scale it down a bit. You know, you go to, let's say, Valley View University, reading a particular course, you may pay 9,000 cedis a year. Whereas in the public university, you pay 1/3 of that. So why don't we find a way of making it half? Because in the government, the public school, government would absorb part of it. In our case, we cannot subsidize all, but at least let us find a way of making it accessible to all manner of people. Okay. So in education, these are areas.
Okay, so in the midst of some of these challenges or this advice that you are giving, why should I, as a parent, be motivated to take my ward to an Adventist institution?
If you don't take your ward to an Adventist institution, don't be surprised if your ward starts doing so many things that would surprise you. That would surprise you, because if you are in any other school, any other institution, you would not be frowned upon when you are found smoking or drinking alcohol or the things we mentioned like caffeine. For them, there's nothing wrong. Fanta, taking Coca-Cola. For us, it is wrong, basically wrong. And then, in almost every institution you can take up, they do all forms of entertainment where you can invite, I don't want to mention names here to be said to be, being a bit unfair to them, but you can invite a dance band, you know, and you enjoy yourself till day break, and you can enter the female rooms and do whatever you want there. You are matured, so nobody would ask you to go back or something. Please, in the case of Adventist institutions, you are still considered a baby, and certain things you must not do. And that is the reason why I remember I visited a very senior priest of the Methodist Church, and when he got to know that I was an Adventist, he said, do you know that when they bring in the national service staff, always the outstanding ones are those from Valley View University.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, and this was said by a former director of the Methodist Book Depot. And I'm saying it openly because it was a true statement he made. You know, somebody coming from a no-mean institution as Methodist and telling me things about Seventh-day Adventist people. And then when you go to Nigeria, where people do this cult in universities, it is officially known that this culting and anything spirituality or homosexuality is never practiced in Babcock University, and it's very outstanding. And this one is official. And that is the reason why, notwithstanding the high cost, when you send your child to SDA institutions such as Valley View, you reap a lot of benefits.
Okay, so in the midst of the cost, we should look at the holistic education
that we are giving out to people.
To your children. Okay, now we have so many health institutions. In terms of health, how far have we come?
In terms of health, we've done a lot. You know, we are spread in almost all the regions, having hospitals, you know, and then other health facilities almost everywhere. But I should be quick enough to say that we haven't done much in the north. In fact, I know the hospital road, SDHI, where we also have a very good hospital in Tamale. But when you go to Upper East and West, and I believe now the Savannah region and then on Northeast region, I don't think you can get an Adventist hospital, even though I stand for correction, but I am about 99% certain. And then the Volta region and then OT regions. So I think that it's not late for us to do something about that. And when I say this, you know, it's also an opportunity for me to praise those who deserve to be praised. There was this East Ghana Conference president called Pastor Kwabena Chum, who established the East Ghana SDA hospital. And I used to be, and still, the lawyer for the East Ghana Conference. And I know that this man would go outside the country and then evangelize, not only in terms of the Bible, but in terms of the health ministry as well. And he was able to get second-hand beds and a lot of facilities, even from non-Adventist institutions which were ready to be given away to support our system. And today, we have the second leading hospital in Koforidua being the SDA Church. Okay. So this becomes a challenge, you know, a very big challenge to all others. You know, you are a conference president. What are you doing differently? You came to meet maybe 100,000 member strong. After 4 years, I would want to see 300,000 members strong for the conference. But beyond that, just as Kwabena Chum established the hospital, the campgrounds, the headquarters of the East Ghana Conference, I know others can do far better. And these are those I would always praise, rather than me praising somebody who say, hey, you're a Ghanaian, so I bet you what president, or you're Ghanaian, so you're GC president. I won't give you my praise, but I want to see you winning more souls. I want to see you establishing so many institutions, because they are also a way of creating jobs for the people. You know, if we had hospitals and schools everywhere ready to accept our young graduates, then it will not be difficult for them to work there, because on the Sabbath, our institutions know that these people will have to be allowed to go to work. So many young people, after suffering to get jobs, then they are compelled to go to work on the Sabbath, and then they retreat and go back home to be a menace upon their parents. We should begin to establish so many institutions, and that comes from the pastors who are manning the various conferences and the unions. Yes.
Okay. So who were some of the pioneers in Adventist health, in terms of the health sector?
The health sector, you see, the moment we established the educational system, the health followed. So they were the very people who introduced the education, who also brought the health, the very people. So the pioneers in terms of education were also the very pioneers in terms of the, because I've told you that in the case of the SDA Church, there was no difference between education, health, and evangelism. So they went hand in hand. But today we have had so many Adventist medical doctors, even though, sad to say, they were not trained in our institutions, because Valley View University has still not got a health department. Well, just for nurses,
doing nursing,
I'm talking about
midwifery.
medicine.
You are talking about.
We need a serious faculty or college or school for the training of medical doctors, because some of the lecturers in our institutions, and I mean medical school lecturers, are Adventists. So when you establish high school, I don't think we will be short-handed in any way.
Well, let me also invite you to share your contributions to 0559-680066. We have some questions here. Good program. God bless you, Elder Noche and the host. Which SDA hospital was first established and when and where?
Which SDA
hospital was first established? Where was it and when?
Well, I'm told that is a Atibie hospital in the eastern region. Yeah.
Okay. So I hope the one who sent the question...
And it should be in the 1930s, because a very long time.
1930?
It should be in the 1930s, if not the 40s, because a very old Adventist institution.
Okay. Mrs. Charity Agreements says, good insight. He says, well done. Then Mr. Osei Ajaman, 2 College of Education lawyer, thanks. Oh, okay. So he's applauding you for that. Wisdom, Kwame Damson, very, very interesting. Ma and may God richly bless you. Wisdom Damson from Bakrugu, Northeast region. So all the way from north. God bless you. If you want to send questions or contribution, please send them to 0559-680066. Now, let me come back to the health. We have nursing training colleges.
One at Asanta. We also have one at Kwadaso in Kumasi.
Kwadaso. How are they faring in your own view?
As for hand-on information,
you
it's
may
very
not be able
difficult
to give.
tell, but the fact that they have survived, each one has survived up to this day, then I would say they are faring well. And I should also add that the moment you establish the school, Ministry of Education comes in. So you would always have the needed government support.
And to go by the regulations set by them.
Of the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
So I believe they are doing very well.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, how did the church, you read something earlier on from Ellen G. White, saying that we are meant to be of service. For those of us living now, what should this tell us?
What it should tell us is that just as Christianity was a marketplace religion, that you see, Jesus Christ seldom entered the temple, but he was everywhere. So we should be people who should reach, especially the unconverted. We should be people whose presence must be felt in the community in which we live. I did a sermon somewhere, and I remember I used this statement that a Christian who is not contagious is a contaminated person. If you are not contagious, then you are contaminated. So it means that the positive aspect of us must always be felt and seen everywhere. You must be your friend's neighbor and keeper. When a certain man met Jesus Christ, what should I do to have eternal life? He himself said so many things about love for God and very little about love for the neighbor. And Jesus Christ rather told a parable, and at the end of it all, he made the man change his very syllabus, that the true service of God is service to mankind. So we should always be prepared to serve mankind. And sometimes you hear certain things very sickening, that an Adventist elder, an Adventist pastor, an Adventist member, that man is very unforgiving. He's vindictive. I find him fighting his wife. disrespecting the husband. And sometimes I've seen an Adventist in the courtroom. She comes to court wearing the earrings, and after court, you go. It means you are not a convinced Adventist. So all that we are saying is that we must be ready to do God's work, irrespective of their age. Because as we learned last week, all the pioneers were people who were below the age of 30. And they were those who have made the SDA church our church. So we should be able to do more. Starting from a very basic age. You cannot go to church when your children are in the house. And the SDA church, from very reliable sources, we have seen it's not growing because now our population worldwide is between 22 million and 24 million. And it is on record that if all grown-up Adventists who have got families have continually had their children in the church, our number would have been 3 times this. That means that elders, pastors,
members,
count them. They grow up and their children, after coming out of school, leave the church. Through marriage, through work, or anything at all, they leave the church. In other cases, like the Presbyterians and Methodists and Catholics, you see that it is sown, that church is sown in the family, and it is almost always there. The time has come for us to do an all-inclusive mission. Charity begins at home, to ensure that the children God is giving us today would forever be with us. Because when Jesus Christ told his disciples that, I'm going to prepare a place for you, and after that I will come for you, and where I am, you will be. That means that when we go to heaven, even though we are going to be spirit beings, and this body will not be there, we would know each other and family members. And how would you feel if you had 3 children, and then you ask of Kwadwo, so Kwadwo is the one standing there, what about her? What about Amma? I saw her in the hellfire. I look at her teeth. Yes, she is grinning. I don't think you will be happy.
No,
your joy will not be complete. So we need to do an all-inclusive mission. Win people from outside, win people from within, grow with them.
But are you able to relate whether or not the youth of today really understand who we are?
If the youth is not understanding who we are, it is not their fault, it is our fault. Because the Christian mission, you say we should go and spread the message to all manner of people, towns, countries, families, everywhere. So we have a duty to penetrate everywhere. We have a duty to do that. And we should continue to blame ourselves until we have achieved our aim. There was a very senior Adventist pastor I listened to at a very big congregation who said that the church has done so well. The church has done so well. Go to Turkey, where John's gravest, John the disciple, where you will find his tomb, and Jesus Christ's mother, her tomb is there, even in Turkey. Talking about Constantinople and them. The percentage of Christians there is not even up to 2%, not up to 2% of the total percentage of Turkey that is Christian. And so if you live in a country like Ghana, where nobody saw Jesus, nobody saw Mary or John, and you have more than 100,000 Christians, you should know you have done very well. And I didn't feel good at all, because Jesus Christ's emphasis was that we should win everybody to become his disciple. So you cannot just do a little and then make a comparison with a certain country or a certain environment and think you have done well. No, let us see ourselves as having not achieved much, because the entire country of Ghana is not an Adventist country.
Well, your final message.
My final message is that we should continue to embrace Adventist education.
Heritage.
That is it. And then the health system, follow them, disseminate everything, because I need to tell you, It was the Seventh-day Adventist church that was the first in the world to preach against smoking. And World Health Organization praises that SDA has caused to reduce cancer infections in the United States of America. We should do so much for the people of Ghana, West Africa, and the entire continent.
All too soon, my time is up. And I have learnt a lot. I am sure you too did. The most important thing is we have the books. So many books. We are called the people of the books. Let's go back to our books. Read them, share them, so that people who do not know who we are, who truly know who we are, and also come and follow our Jesus. Now, your last final word.
The final word, last week, I wanted to remember Desire of Ages as the greatest, the finest book on Jesus Christ outside the New Testament. I forgot, and today I need to say it so that everyone who hears me would go and buy a copy together with Great Controversy. If you are an Adventist, buy these two, give out to people. If you are not an Adventist, hearing my voice, go and buy, and you would not regret.
You will not regret it. This is our heritage. Give it to your children. Just as in the book of the old, in the Bible, he said, let's give it to our children, so that they can protect and safeguard it. What are you leaving behind? Adventists, we have so many good things. We have lots of heritages. Let's educate ourselves. Let's practice the health messages that we are giving out, so that we shall live long, and also let our lives be testimonies to people. On this note, I say thank you so much. On this note, I say thank you so much. And the munyana mwase afi bosumi ewumi eye Ghana afi. Ye nyina ye kambom ne de Awurade ase. Ye sre Awurade se ne yesia wo ha nyina no emmoa me no mienu. Ye ngoma a wo se ye gya to ho no ye nkofo ne nkenkan ne ye hunu nipakuo a ye se ne be ye nsuban ne ye ne ye no ebede suba papa bi edi atre afoforo na wona wo hwehwe Kristo no enam ye nso ehun Kristo enu nti ne srew kyerɛ wo ma kyerɛ wo nananom enyanto ho se ne be ye nyina ebebom osoro daakye ebe ye husi abusie nyina hodo nyina be ka bom yakase Kristo ye da wase wo a ya twen wa breni be fa ye kudi da ensada nyame nhwere nyina. Good night, and let's practice safe. Bye-bye.